Okay. So join with me as we close our eyes and just placing our feet firmly on the ground or wherever you are. Maybe you're lying down, it's okay. And just begin to breathe to the count of 4. In, 2, 3, 4. And out. 2, 3, 4. Keep that breathing going, letting yourself really arrive into this moment, regardless of what has gone on earlier today or what might need to go on a bit later today. Letting ourselves just be here now. Using that count of 4 on the breath, because 4 is that beautiful number of stability, helping us ground and stabilize. And just imagine now in your mind's eye, roots coming from your feet down through the ground, down into the underground, and right down to that rock at the bottom of the earth. Wrap those roots around that rock. This rock holds golden light, healing energy, the light of our true nature. And just see that light emanating now, coming up through the rock, through the roots, through the underground, up into the ground, up into the floorboards, up into your feet. And send that golden light now all the way through your body, from the bottom to the top. Scanning any areas that feel tense or sore and adding even extra golden light there. So now that this elixir of light is surrounding you, if there's anyone in your life that could use some light, or perhaps there's a relationship that you'd like to lighten up about, feel less anxious or worried about, just send that light to that person or animal just now. Now, in your mind's eye, just see yourself standing with your arms upward towards the sky and intend through your own request to your spiritual team or to your guidance that you would receive the divine downloads that are rightly yours to move you forward in your life and your business or career at this time. See yourself opening up to these downloads. See yourself feeling blessed by this connection to all that is. Dear Spirit, we ask that each individual on this coaching clinic be used by you in the most efficient, in the most beautiful, in the most graceful way. Remove all barriers and blocks, anything that's stopping us, shutting us down, getting us off our purpose. And remind us of the beauty and light that we are and that we are to bring to the world in every way each day. Teach us to listen more carefully to the nudges. Teach us to check in with our divine nature. Teach us to notice the downloads that we get, and rather than busy ourselves forgetting them, teach us to value them and act upon them. Give us the grace to move into this month of February connected, grounded, directed, and used so purposefully by you. And may that use be rewarded financially at the highest level. May that use be seen in our eyes as valuable. And may we learn to receive good for the gifts you have bestowed upon us. We ask this, believing. Amen. Just see roots now coming from your feet, down through the ground, down into the underground, right down to that rock at the bottom of the earth. Wrap those roots around that rock and feel yourself present to the session, moving your fingers and toes, opening your eyes, and just letting yourself be here now. So, as we look at today's topic, divine downloads and guilt-free rest, I'm just struck by how both go hand in hand, how it is a place of rest from which all things come more easily, more effortlessly. And when I share about rest, I'm sharing about mental rest. Physical rest is something that we often look toward when you hear the word self-care. And if the body's in pain, it's very easy to pay attention and look toward physical rest. But when the body's not physically tired and there's not a lot of physical symptoms going on, that's when we can sometimes have a kind of a disrespect for the mental rest that's needed in each of us. Over the past few years, I've learned that grief is the most exhausting experience that I've had. And I learned to respect my tiredness. Before that, I would push through my tiredness, disregard my tiredness, continue to take one client after the other, after the other, after the other, thinking that because I love what I do, I had no need for recuperation and rest. But I've come to see that that's simply not true. I've come to have a new respect for mental rest. I've come to notice that tiredness is an invitation to take care of you. And the beautiful benefit of all of that mental rest that we allow for ourselves is that we open up energetically. calling in effortlessly what it is we need. There is a relationship between your mind being at rest and your ability to receive the downloads that spirit wants to pour through you. There is a relationship between you taking care of you before everything else and receiving tangible, worldly goods and offers. And yet, innocently, we've all just learned that, well, we've all just learned to run full steam ahead because that's what you're meant to do. There's a kind of glory in the busyness. There's a kind of celebration of a full calendar, be that a coaching calendar of clients or a social calendar of events or just a workload in general. There's this kind of misguided idea that the more you've got going on, the better you're doing or the better it is. That's simply not true. This is why when we begin to respect our tiredness, we might feel a bit guilty initially. What do you mean I should prioritize my state of mind, Grace? I need to take care of my kids, otherwise I'll be selfish. Or what do you mean I need to take care of me before I attend to my clients, before I attend to my family's requirements? Well, it's a kind of essential selfishness, self with a capital S, that pays dividends. Because as we allow ourselves to make that mental rest a priority, we have far more energy, energetically and mentally, to address what's demanding for us. A client, a person that follows my clinics and blog, I just pull it up here on the phone. She wrote me in. She's in Australia and she can't attend live, but she wrote me in, how do I slow down the workload at work when I have to achieve certain things at work, which I can't ignore? I can't let these things work themselves out. Well, that's a very innocent question. How do I slow down the workload at work when I have to achieve things? Because what we're innocently doing there is we're trying to slow down the external world, when in fact it's a slowing down mentally that gets the job done. Now, you're going to have to lean on my faith around that if it's not true for you yet. But if your world looks really busy and fast on the outside, and even if your world looks too slow, people aren't going quick enough for your liking on the outside, this is an indicator that your mental rest, your mental bandwidth is very low. This is why prioritizing that guilt-free rest is crucial. So we don't need to slow down our calendar and our workload. We want to begin to respect our tiredness and know that it's an invitation to slow down the busy mind within. Well, how do we do that? Partly showing up here as you're doing will give you a sense of mental rest. I personally like using listening to truth. I listen to Sydney Banks daily. He speaks truth. I do meditation at least once a day. And particularly if I'm super tired, I'll make it twice. And I've learned to respect the tiredness enough to know when to say no. To just stop packing in one appointment after another appointment after another appointment, then a social activity, then another thing, like that looks insane to me now to live that way. But when I didn't respect the tiredness, I just went from one task to the next with no respect for mental rest. What's the payoff? Well, first of all, you're going to feel amazing. If you could bottle up mental rest and drink it, you would never need Botox, a facelift, or any anti-wrinkle cream. It is the most rejuvenating, youth-enhancing beauty product there is. It's my experience that that's one of the gorgeous payoffs. And one of the more profound payoffs is that in mental rest, physical symptoms clear up, divine downloads are heard. What's a divine download? It's an idea from the divine mind, not your little mind. So for those of you that are in the world of working for yourselves, divine downloads are essential because you're relying, I'm speaking about myself here, we're relying on those downloads to move us forward in our business. No one's telling us how to run it and what to do, what to do next. You know, it's not the same as going to a job, clocking in and clocking out. When you're working for yourself, you're taking your direction from the divine. Now, if your mind is super, super, super busy and you're constantly tired and you are in the habit innocently of thinking up ideas and running full throttle and then getting disappointed, you can't afford not to respect this mental rest I'm talking about. If you want to see a difference in the way your life is playing out, this is an essential ingredient to a more graceful, smoother experience, regardless of what challenge you're up against. And so our habit of thought is going to worry about resting mentally or lying on the sofa because we're so burnt out, all we can do is watch Netflix. Your habitual mind is going to kick up a fuss about all of that and suggest that you should be doing something. But I'm going to suggest, what good is action if you're going in the wrong direction? What good is speed if you're going in the wrong direction? This is why you want to take your dictation from divine mind, from spirit, from the download, not from a worried mind, not from a parent that is worried about you and is trying to advise you to do better in a way, not even from a coach or a therapist, from your download. All can unfold in the correct manner. Now, sometimes life doesn't necessarily just give us a download. Life might invite us to something. Life could be inviting you to participate in something, and it may have been inviting you for some time, but you just haven't noticed because your mind is mentally on overdrive. Sometimes it is not just hearing and listening for what's next, but it's actually witnessing what life's inviting us to, what life is saying to us over and over and over again. And that's another way that you just notice you're energetically open. See, you can't see those invitations when you're shut down. You can't see the life's invitation to you when you're mentally not at rest. So the payoff for beginning to respect your tiredness, prioritize your guilt-free rest, uh, is just is so beneficial for whatever you're up against and whatever is required of you next. Some of the best business ideas I've had have come from hearing the download and not just hearing it, but being energetically open to noticing it. How do we do that? How do we come to that? We prioritize taking care of our state of mind first. Some people report to me that they find a lot of mental rest through exercise and through going to the gym, or when they're out walking in nature, or when they're on the yoga mat. Doesn't matter how you get it, just be sure you prioritize it. And I do believe that the type of conversations that we have are a beautiful foundation for settling down the mental fan belt. And I do believe that listening to truth, and I try to share that with you as often as I can in our WhatsApp group. I do believe that listening to truth has the power to help us see something new that shuts down the worried mind. So next time you're tempted to skip the meditation or show up to the coaching clinic and just, not show up for the meditation piece, as one of my clients innocently admitted, Grace, can we do a meditation on our coaching call? Because I got to tell you, when it comes to the coaching clinic, I don't let myself sit and do the meditation because I think I need to be doing the house stuff before I can get on the call. Like, how many of us can admit to that? Our habitual thinking is very convincing about all the things that we need to do rather than taking care of me and you, taking care of the state of mind first. If you feel guilty about any form of restfulness, if you even feel agitated, angsty, jumpy about any form of giving to yourself, time, relaxation, anything, please know that that's learned thinking at work. And it's not suggesting that you can't prioritize you. It's just convincing you that there's something better for you to be doing right now. get suspicious of that. When you feel guilty, get suspicious of that guilty feeling. It's not telling you what you think it's telling you. It's just there to distract you. When you get worried, get suspicious of your worried thinking. It's not giving you helpful information. And as you do this, as you respect your tiredness a little more, as you cultivate guilt-free rest in your mind and in your day a little more, you open up energetically to everything you could possibly want or need, including downloads, ideas, direction, dictation from spirit, and life's invitation to what's next. Let's have a check in at this point. What are you hearing? What would you like to comment on? Or what's your situation or question? Feel free to just come on or write in the chat if you prefer. And no worries if there's nothing.
Hi, Grace. Can I say something?
Yes, Linda, thank you.
Yes, I love this so much. This is like just just so perfect. I've noticed that as my mind quiets down, I notice so much more in my awareness. And uh I noticed the one little thing about this that I'm this kind of love to let go of is the news. And I don't watch the news, but every morning I just go through the headlines because just to know. And in this morning I just get so, less and less, but I just notice that it's so upsetting.
Mhm.
And but I don't want to not be, informed. So I don't know if you've had anything to say
Mhm.
about that, other than, I mean, I do just kind of want to generally know what's going on.
Yeah,
Just any thoughts about that?
yeah. Well, I would just notice that if something was causing me pain, I might just do a bit less of that. Uh, And as I felt better inside, as I felt a bit brighter and stronger inside, I'd be curious about how I can help beyond being informed. I got so distressed myself with everything happening. Um, and I reached out to a mentor of mine, and I just, it had come to me in my own wisdom, Grace, take care of you. I was like, how can I help? What can I do? How do I, oh my God, I was really losing hope in humanity. But the wisdom that came to me in a quiet mind was take care of you. And I was like, oh no, that's really selfish. How does that help humanity? But Linda, as you take care of you, and as I reached out to my mentor and I asked about this, can this really be true? Take care of me is the answer. And he said, Grace, that's exactly what you can do in this scenario. And as you do, you'll get fresh ideas on how to help. Um, when we're looking at something and it's causing us pain, the only thing we can bring to the table is pain.
Right.
Now,
Yes.
when we're less tired, Linda, right? Because you might notice that some days you look at it and it's really painful, and other times you're looking at it and it's not like at that level of pain, but it's still distressing or upsetting. That it's just an indicator of where we are on our threshold of tiredness too, right? But I would just notice if it's feeling painful, take care of you and then come back to the situation, because you can help humanity in so many ways by feeling good. You can get downloads on even global situations through you feeling good and rested. And people don't always believe that. But if I give it to you this way, a totally different scenario, but when my partner died, I had more distress when people met me distressed about it. It added to my distress. And so when I was on my own and I was taking care of my state of mind first, and I was, you know, doing my best for me, I could meet people on the street and they would start crying, and they had such pity for me. And I would notice that wasn't being pulled down into that. Right. So see, our suffering doesn't help the suffering of the world. And we've also experienced a kind of, the more I worry about you, the more it means I care. That's
Mhm.
not true. So the more I look at this, the more maybe I can do something about it, or I can be informed about it. I am sure you have enough information at this stage. And I would invite you to go take care of you. And if it makes sense to come back to the news from this fresh state of mind and see what occurs to you then.
Okay.
What do you
Yeah.
notice from that, if anything?
Well, I was thinking, having I live in the US, so it's only revving up, I'm sure. And I've noticed that when I have conversations with people, I really try not to get pulled in to the emotion of it. It's
Mhm.
really hard not to, though. But I have seen that when I come from a calmer place of mind, I have different um solutions, let's say, than the normal um back and forth,
Yeah,
which yeah, which is feels really good to
yeah.
yeah, contribute some of what is I like a bigger picture, let's say, like instead of being down there in the back and forth, it's just, and I do feel good about that. So
Mhm.
I
Well,
appreciate.
yeah, I'm hearing a quote from Sydney Banks too, which is, you can't give what you don't have. If you only have $5 in your wallet, that's all you can give away.
Mhm.
And Linda, I would say many of the people that you're in conversation with don't even have $5
Mm.
ment mentally, right? Like
Mhm.
I'm talking energetically here.
Yeah, yeah.
So a back and forth is just, it's a bit of a waste of energy. However, you have a quiet power. I spoke about this with a client of mine last week who is really wanting to change things up in an area in the UK. And we spoke about this fact that we have a quiet power that we might underestimate. Other Others that are getting caught up innocently, with a kind of a loud power. as they get more and more agitated, that's not contributing to the healing of the situation or the world. You have a quiet power that you get to bring forward, and it can disarm and dismantle and diffuse a lot of um let's say aggravating conversations. And at the same time, Linda, I would just spend my time and my energy and my mental focus on where I'm feeling supportive and feeling good.
Okay. Yeah, I love that. I'm beginning to appreciate that quiet power.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That does more to heal the world than we realize. Us living in a good feeling, being proactive about what we see as important in the world, but not losing our well-being in the process. Because if we lose our well-being in the process, we've just they're suffering, and now we're suffering, and where's the change? Okay. So again, as we get well rested mentally, we sometimes can go back to looking at what once was causing us pain. Um, yeah. Thank you for that.
Thank you, Grace. Thank you.
Sada Sad. Oh, you need to unmute, darling.
When you talked about, like filling your calendar, I have this thing that I am get stuck in. And as you were talking, I was thinking about it, and then you said a bunch of other things, and it brought me into a whole new um, understanding of why I feel that way about what happens in my calendar. So I keep my calendar on my computer open for a whole month, like whatever 4 weeks, whatever 4 weeks it can show. And I have so many, sometimes very picayune kind of things, but I feel I need to do them. And then I have things that are super important, and I know I need to do those. And it gives me like, I have no other word for it but to say anxiety. And so I'm always looking for which one of these things can I drag over to another day. And I do a lot of dragging around from one day to another on my calendar.
Yeah.
And then, Linda, what you had said made me think of something that I started to understand much more deeply a number of years ago, the difference between empathy and compassion. Um, in empathy, we feel the other person's pain. And compassion, we know that pain is there for that person, but we can bring our own love and our own kindness through our energy when we don't get stuck in the empathy. I don't know if other people maybe have a different understanding of what those words mean, but when I had learned about the difference between them from, someone who I was talking to who understood it, it somehow just came up in conversation. And I realized that we can get exhausted by caring, not by caring, but by feeling we have to feel that person's pain because we're going to be in the same exhaustion they are. And my experience has been that when I just, to my very best ability, bring love into the equation, into the interaction, rather than feeling, oh, if I can just feel some of that on your behalf is what I would be thinking. We don't need to. In fact, we help people more, I feel, when we can be embracing them with such beautiful energy but not feeling like we have to feel their pain, but we need to bring the peace that we have within us. So hopefully they can feel some of that peace. And if anybody doesn't agree with this, I'm fine with it, but maybe I just maybe need a better way to describe it.
No, it's perfectly clear. And it's reminding me that often when we see what's going on in other parts of the world, we're waking up a little bit more grateful for our lives and our peace and our well-being. And that too allows for a gentle healing in our world. I know, yeah, that for me was what became very obvious was the more I could see what was going on elsewhere, the more grateful I was walking in my world. That has a profound impact. So yes, Sarasat, that does make that's very clear. That's very
And
clear.
I can't remember his name, but there's this very famous monk from France who participated in some studies about how being a meditator, someone who's an extreme meditator, even if we take a piece of that, he would meet with these scientists somewhere, I think in Pennsylvania at a big research institute. And they would hook him up and then they would show him images and see how he would respond. And there was one where there was, some horrible photo of a child who was running, and it was in a war zone, and the child had wounds and everything. And about 3 minutes into it, or maybe less, what he was hooked up, that what they were receiving in the scientists from his body energy on all the kinds of screens and stuff they used, his heartbeat, his breath rate, all that. All of a sudden, it all slowed down. And at the end, one of them came to him and said, "What did you do? Because you were in this state, your heart was racing, your breath was going bigger, it was like all this kind of stuff." And he thought for a moment and he said, "I went from empathy to compassion." And I think if I sometimes realize how sometimes I have too much empathy and I need more compassion. But I just wanted to throw that out there because I think that if we get caught up, even in our own stuff, out of empathy for us, but we want to be compassionate to us. We want to love ourselves and not just, and besides, we can't like offload our stuff to ourselves. We have to change how we're doing it. I mean, that's my experience.
Thank you. Yeah. Anita, would you like to share something?
Yes, I was pleased you mentioned about grief. In fact, I was thinking earlier this afternoon, I wanted to ask you something about that. I sometimes get a bit tied up with, as Sydney Banks always said, you just one thought away from happiness. And then you can have a huge loss, as you've had and I've had. And I had a client this week who had had a loss as well. And I'm just wondering about that edge, between the feelings that are probably need to be felt and the idea that we don't have to create bad feelings. Do you know what I'm asking?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, this is where it goes beyond thinking, at least how I see it, Anita. Because sometimes I was in this state of, oh, this is just my thinking. This is just my thinking. This whole thing is my thinking. Well, to a degree, it, you know, as it was coming from thought. And the thing that I noticed was I could use my memory of my partner to help myself or hurt myself. I started to notice I could use my memory to help myself or hurt myself. And something about seeing that moved me from the level of despair I was in with the loss to just a gentler level of letting the grief do its thing and not holding so tightly to the memories or to the regrets or to the woulda, shoulda, coulda.
Mm-hmm.
But I can tell you, when I was tired and exhausted, the memories were dark. I started to see that the tireder I was, and of course you're going to be tired with grief because you're just, well, I felt hit like, it's like I described it as a slap in the face out of nowhere sometimes, but I felt this like almost solar plexus like something just hit that concerned me for a while, until I started to just see this insight that memory. I was using my memories to hurt myself and to create more and more painful experiences. And I would do that particularly when I was very tired. Now, for someone to say to me, but you could just change your thinking, but it's just your thinking, but you're just one thought away from happiness. Not from that level of consciousness.
No.
You know, like that was incrementally I came back up, and my experience of grief today is extremely different. But the less we're trying to understand our experience, analyze our feelings, get into worry, stress, or concern about dropping into grief, depression, or other, the more this energy of life just gets to move through us, is how I see it. And that doesn't come in a one-sided way, only positive, only good, only supportive. It comes in all aspects. Love and hate, positive, negative, good and bad, happy and sad, loss and gain. And there was something about just becoming okay with the full range of emotions instead of resisting certain emotions that helped it move more freely. Is that speaking to you at all?
Yeah, I think what I'm hearing is that, I mean, we're human beings and there are a whole range of human emotions that we get. And that the emotions can come through. But it's the thinking that we put on top.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, you know, you can wind yourself up and up and up, or down and down and down with your thinking around it. And that if we can just be with the feelings without piling stuff on top, then that's more how it sort of could be.
Yeah.
Then you just naturally allow things to move through.
And that's the most helpful thing you could point your client to.
Mm.
Just what you've seen right there. Nothing to change, nothing better to try and get to in this moment. Just what you've seen right there. There is something really transformative when we're not resisting our experience, whatever it might be. There is something helpful about noticing that in a low state of mind, our grief is heavier. In a tired experience mentally, our grief hits us harder. And we can use our memory to help or to hurt ourselves. I just got more and more, or let's say, I just got less and less interested in hurting myself.
That's a nice way of putting it.
Go ahead.
It's a nice way of putting it. I got less interested in hurting myself.
Yeah. Yeah. And see, that's built in all of us. We're all wired for well-being. It's who we are. No one comes into this world and says, I hope I feel worse by the end. No one wakes up in the morning and says, I hope this day is crap and by the end of it, I'm absolutely shattered. We're all wired for well-being. We want to feel better. We want to feel good. We want to, it's built into the system. It's how we're designed. So anyone in grief or depression doesn't have to worry that they're going to hang out there for the rest of their lives, because it's built in that they're going to yearn for a better feeling. And in that yearning, they find their way. And I found my way with becoming less interested in using my memory to hurt.
Mm. Mm. That's something which I've experienced since coming across the 3 principles earlier last year, is that I had struggled so much with being single, and I became less interested in hurting myself. So I became less interested in putting the thoughts through my head that made me feel worse.
Yeah.
And it's been quite transformative, actually.
And what a fabulous insight for you to bring your client. She's up against grief and you've seen something about hurting yourself. See, we don't even have to have had the same experience as our clients. We just have to have seen a little glimpse of something that might help them. And that right there will help, Anita. Thank you.
Thank you, Grace.
Thank you. Anybody else? I know we started a little bit late, so I'm happy to hang on for a few more minutes if you'd like to. But just noticing the feeling we're in here. Can you feel that? Can you feel slightly less busy-minded? Oh, Marie-Pierre, thank you. Okay. Marie-Pierre wrote in, what if there's no life invitation and you don't know what's next and that makes you anxious? Okay. Well, it's natural we would get anxious when we don't know. Like the unknown is the place none of us like to hang out in. Okay. I'm going to invite you to notice that a feeling of anxiousness isn't telling you to worry about nothing being next. A feeling of anxiousness is letting you know you're using your thinking about this to hurt yourself. That's all. See, innocently, we get into bed with our feelings and we kind of, we want to analyze, and they must mean that this is, a problem. It must mean that there's no future here. But actually, the feeling, it's only ever pointing to how we're using or misusing our thinking in the moment. So let's take anxiousness off the table, Marie-Pierre, because it has nothing to do with you, with the unknown. It's just an alarm bell for how you're using thought right now. Okay. So take it off the table and let's go to, what if there's no life invitation? Wait well. There will be. And usually what's happening is we've just sped up and gotten impatient, and it should be there by now, and it should be so far by now that at that point we can't even see invitations from life because we're just so stuck in our analyzing. So I invite you to wait well, meaning rest easy. You don't know what's next. You will. As your mind gets a little bit quieter, you'll notice. I don't know if it was a picture of you I saw on Instagram or somewhere, but I noticed that you had traveled to a beautiful destination. Well, that came to you as an idea or perhaps an invitation, or, it wasn't some big thing you had to analyze. It probably just was like, oh yeah, I'll do that, or I'd like to do that. When we wait well, we start to notice what we would like to do next. Now, innocently, we don't wait well when we're worrying about what's next. So again, I invite you to just see beyond this habitual thought that's asking you to get worried and get concerned and get anxious and get out of the present moment is really what it's doing to you. And I invite you to get into the present moment, waiting well, knowing that life is on your side. And soon enough, it's going to become clear to you what's next, or life's going to invite you very directly to what's next. I'm just thinking about, this man that's in my life now. And I'm just noticing, life's invitation, not me going out searching for it. Yes, there was a desire. I would like to be in relationship. I would like to have connection. I would like to be taken out on dates. I would like someone to show up and fix everything. I can be a bit lazy myself. I would like, someone else to take care of the details of my Italian life. And then I just, that was clear to me. Oh, I would like that. And then I got into waiting well. And life invited me to a few scenarios. See, we don't have to go out looking for what's next or putting ourselves in situations where we think we're going to get what's next. We can wait well knowing that we have a desire, we have a clarity about what we'd like. Maybe it's just a feeling we'd like. I'd like to feel better. I'd like to feel healthier. And from there, life can begin to invite us. How do you know when life's inviting you? It doesn't go away. I couldn't get this guy to go away. Even though I became a complete drama queen in the middle of it all and did all my worst possible whatever in my grief state, he still wouldn't go away. And eventually I was like, okay, I've done a lot of testing here, but this one's definitely from life. So just let yourself wait well. It'll come to you what's next. It comes to all of us. Thank you for your patience today, everybody. I'm going to stop now because I'm going to have a coaching call in about 20 minutes. And I want to share with you, just while we're on the call, next month's clinic date. So at the moment, please keep an eye on your emails. But at the moment, next month's clinic date, instead of the first Tuesday of the month, which is Tuesday the 5th, it will be Thursday the 7th, okay? Unless you see differently by email, you can mark your calendar Thursday the 7th of March at the usual time. And I'll be sure to make sure you get a link, and that the link is easier to handle this time, okay? Lots of love, everybody. Take care. Bye.